Story 1. The Man Behind the Bushes. It was late October, and the days were starting to get shorter. I remember the leaves crunching beneath my feet as I walked home from school one chilly afternoon. My backpack was heavy, and the brisk wind made me pull my hoodie tighter around me. My usual route cut through a residential area before passing a small wooded trail that trimmed the edge of our neighborhood park. I had taken this shortcut countless times, even as the shadows grew longer in the fall. It saved me 10 minutes, and I always felt confident navigating it. That day felt off, though. I didn't notice it at first, but there was this stillness in the air. No birds chirping, no kids playing in the park, just the sound of wind and my own footsteps. About halfway down the path, I spotted something, or someone, half hidden behind a cluster of bushes to the left of the trail. It was just a sliver of movement at first, like someone ducking down quickly. My heart skipped, but I brushed it off. Probably a raccoon or a kid trying to spook someone. Still, I picked up my pace. I didn't run, but I walked faster than usual. That's when I heard it. Twigs snapping behind me. Not fast like a charge, but steady, measured, like someone matching my steps. I glanced back. No one. I kept walking, and then I heard it again. A low rustling to my right. This time just beyond the brush, my mouth went dry. I didn't want to seem paranoid, but I called out, "Hey, I know you're there." Not funny. No response. Just silence. I started jogging. My house was only 5 minutes away now. I could almost see the edge of the trail where it opened into the cul-de-sac. I told myself I was overreacting, just letting my imagination run wild. Then I saw him. A man stepped out onto the trail behind me. He was tall, wearing a dirty gray coat and dark jeans. His face was pale, almost sickly, and he had this wild look in his eyes. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, staring, his head tilted slightly, like he was studying me. I froze for a second. Then I bolted. I ran harder than I ever had in my life. I didn't stop until I reached my front door, hands shaking so badly I could barely get my key in the lock. When I finally got inside, I slammed the door, locked it, and peeked through the window. He wasn't there. No sign of anyone. I told my parents what happened. My dad drove down the path, but the man was long gone. We reported it, and police patrolled the area for a few days, but nothing ever came of it. What chills me is how quiet he was, how patient. He never spoke, never chased, just watched, like he was waiting for something. I still wonder what would have happened if I'd tripped, or froze, or hesitated. To this day, I never take that shortcut again. Story number 2. The Silent Follower. I was in 8th grade when it happened. My school was only a 15-minute walk from my house, and I usually didn't mind the trek. My neighborhood wasn't the kind where you'd expect anything bad to happen. Quiet streets, friendly neighbors, the kind of place where people still waved when they passed you on the sidewalk. It was early spring, and the weather had just started to warm up. That particular afternoon, I stayed late for a group project in the library. By the time I finally packed up and left, most of the school had emptied out. The sun was already dipping low, casting these long, stretched-out shadows across the sidewalk. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just popped in my earbuds and started heading home. About 5 minutes in, I had this weird feeling like I was being watched. You know how sometimes your instincts just fire off, even if there's nothing around? That's what it felt like. I paused my music and glanced over my shoulder. No one was there. The street behind me was empty. Still, something didn't sit right. I decided to take a different route, one that cut through a few back alleys and past some townhouses. It wasn't my usual path, but it would get me home just as fast. As I rounded a corner into the alley, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, steady. At first, I thought it might just be someone else walking home. But when I glanced back, there was nobody there. Just rows of trash bins and fences. I tried to laugh it off. Maybe I was hearing my own echo or something. I kept walking. But then the footsteps started again. This time, closer. I whipped around. Nothing. And that's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. One of the gates along the alley, one that was always locked, was slightly open. Not much, just a crack. But I could see the shadow of something, or someone, just behind it. The shape was human, tall, still. I stared at it for a solid few seconds, not breathing, waiting for it to move. It didn't. But the longer I looked, the more certain I became that whatever was behind that gate was watching me. I slowly started to back away. My phone was in my hand, but my fingers were so clammy I almost dropped it when I tried to dial my mom. I didn't make the call. I heard the gate creak open. That was enough. I turned and ran. My backpack bounced wildly as I sprinted down the alley, taking random turns without even thinking. I didn't stop until I was 2 blocks from my house, panting and nearly in tears. When I finally got home, I slammed the door behind me and locked it. My mom took one look at me and asked what happened. I couldn't even explain it properly. Just said someone had followed me. We called the police, and they did a sweep of the area. But they didn't find anyone. Here's the part that still creeps me out. 2 days later, I walked past that same alley. This time with a friend, in broad daylight. That gate, it had a huge padlock on it, rusty and solid. There's no way it was recently opened. When I asked my friend about it, she said it had always been locked, that no one lived in that house anymore. I swear on everything, I saw it open. I saw someone standing behind it. I heard it open when I turned to run. I don't know who or what was watching me that day, but I changed my route permanently after that. Never took the alley again. Never walked home alone if I could help it. Sometimes I still have dreams about that moment. About the figure behind the gate. About the silence right before the creak. In the dreams, I don't run. And I always wake up before I find out what happens next. Story 3. The Woman in the Window. It started on a Thursday. I had detention for something dumb. Forgotten homework, I think. By the time I got out, the halls were silent, and the janitor was already mopping the floors. I slung my backpack over one shoulder and headed out, a little annoyed and a little tired. My route home took me through a long stretch of neighborhood where the houses all looked the same. Brick, 2 stories, tiny lawns. I'd walked it 100 times. But that day, something felt different. It wasn't quite dark yet, but the sky was an odd, overcast gray. Everything looked washed out. Even the air felt heavy. I crossed the first few blocks without thinking much of it, until I got to the corner with the old blue house. Now, this house always gave me weird vibes. It was clearly lived in, but the blinds were always drawn, the paint was peeling, and the grass never seemed mowed. I'd never seen anyone coming or going. Just one of those places you walk a little faster past, you know? As I passed it, I felt something pull at the corner of my eye, a shape in the upstairs window. I glanced up. There was a woman staring down at me. She was standing right behind the glass, pale skin, dark hair, no expression, just staring, not blinking. Her face was so close to the window, I could almost make out the fog of her breath. The second our eyes met, I looked away, my heart skipping. I didn't know what to do, so I just kept walking. But I couldn't shake the feeling. My back itched like she was still watching me. When I got home, I mentioned it to my dad in passing. He just shrugged. "Someone finally moved in?" he said. "That place has been empty for years." That night, I had trouble sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Blank, emotionless, almost wrong. Like her features didn't quite fit. And then things started to get weirder. The next day, walking home again, I looked up at that same window. She was there. Same spot, same expression, same window. Only this time, her hand was pressed against the glass. Just her palm. Flat. Like she was trying to reach through it. I stopped walking. I couldn't help it. I just stood there, staring up at her. Something about her didn't feel right. Not just creepy. Off. Her proportions were strange, almost like someone pretending to be human. The longer I looked, the more my brain screamed at me to leave. So I did. That night, I dreamed I was walking past the house again. In the dream, she wasn't in the window. She was in the street, waiting for me. Her eyes were completely black, and her mouth opened impossibly wide like she was about to scream. But no sound came out. I woke up sweating. I avoided looking at the house for a few days after that, even crossed to the other side of the street. But on Monday, curiosity got the better of me. I glanced up, fully expecting the window to be empty. She was still there, but this time, her mouth was smiling, wide, like someone had drawn the expression on with a knife. That night, I asked my neighbor, an older guy who's lived on the block for decades, if he knew anything about the people in the blue house. His face went pale. He told me no one had lived there since the 80s. A woman who lost her mind after her son died lived there alone for years. She was known for standing at the window for hours, staring at the kids who walked by after school. One day, she just vanished. They never found her. Eventually, the bank took the property. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in the walls sounded like footsteps. Every gust of wind against my window made my skin crawl. The next day, my dad offered to drive me home. I said yes. On the drive past the house, I made the mistake of looking again. The window was wide open. The woman was gone. But something inside the house, just behind the curtain, moved. Not quickly, not dramatically. Just enough to let me know I wasn't imagining this. Something was in there. I haven't walked past that house since. I take the long way now, even if it adds 15 minutes. Because the last time I looked into that window, I swear to God, I saw my own face staring back at me, and it smiled.